If this outfit looks familiar, it's because I just finished doing my behind the scenes video. I'll put a link to that in the description and probably in the comments too, so check that out if you can. Now that I've done all the setup on a video, I'm ready to do the actual tasting for this whiskey. So let's do this. Welcome to Whisky Riffs. I'm Kevin, and I have another whiskey that came from Craft Whisky Club, and I really wanted to do it right away because it looked interesting, it looked unique, and I think it's kind of a trend that I've been seeing floating around in the US. It's an American whiskey, but it's a single malt, which means they're actually using 100% malted barley, American malted barley. It's non-chill filtered, which is fantastic. They're using pot stills, and they are using the two types, I guess, of domestic barley for this mash. It's at 59.9% ABV, so just under 120 proof. When I first started doing some research on this whiskey to find out where the distillery was and what was it all about, and I noticed it says San Jose, California, which is about 40 miles south of me. And then I found out that the two people that started this distillery in 2017 were actually engineers. And they were fascinated by the process of making whiskey. They had some experience in making beer, or at least one of them did, and decided, you know, let's research this, let's do this right. As engineers, let's break this down. Let's figure out what's the best way to distill a whiskey and get the best flavors. So they use copper pot stills. They double distill it. If you watch any of my videos on Irish whiskeys, the pot still ones, you'll notice that they actually triple distill in a lot of the Irish pot still whiskeys. A lot of Scotch whiskeys are double distilled, like this one, which is a good thing. And this is a high ABV. Their normal ABV for this is 46% ABV or 92 proof. Because this, like my Old Elk video that I did a couple episodes back, I'll link to it in the description below and in the comments. But that one was a Craft Whisky Club exclusive whiskey also. And because that one was higher proof than you could normally get on the store shelves, the same goes with this one. A lot of times whiskey clubs and groups can buy barrels and decide that we're going to take the casks and bottle them at a different proof than you normally get on store shelves. It's one of the perks of being in a whiskey club. If you're interested in craft, I'll put a link to that also in my description. It'll have a connection to my account that will give you, or give us both. I don't know, it might give us both something. I don't remember exactly what they do, but I'll put the link in there if you're interested. So this is 10th Street American Whiskey STR single malt. Now STR, that stands for shaved, toasted, and recharred casks. The process of prepping a cask for putting whiskey in it, you do some sort of charring. There's different levels of charring. As you char more or char less, you actually change the flavor of the whiskey. Different oils and different flavors come out of the wood depending on the char level. So as you're building your mash bill and deciding how you want that grain to affect the whiskey, you're also looking at the wood, saying what kind of wood are we using? What are we going to char the wood at level-wise? And what else can we do to enhance the flavors? Now they already have chosen to do local sourcing of their barley. So that's pretty cool. And they're taking the care to specially treat the wood barrels that they're using also, which I think is also great because the whiskey is going to be in these barrels for years. And that's going to affect the flavor a ton. So whatever you choose to do to your barrels That's going to affect your flavor profile an awful lot. So I'm finding some really nice connections with this distillery already. Two engineers started the distillery. I've been a software engineer for many, many years, way too many years. And I understand the concept of looking at a problem, saying, can we do this better? Is there a way to make this even better? And I see on the bottle here, it says, shaped by the unique microflora of the San Francisco Bay Area. Hey, I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, and there's a lot of interesting microflora here. Ask my sinuses. All right, well, let's crack into this. I'm excited to taste it on camera. I have tasted it off camera. Normally with a whiskey like this, that's 100% barley, that's pot still, you're going to get some very traditional flavors from them. And right off the bat, the nose is very traditional. I'm getting honey, butterscotch, a little bit of that malted note. It's a little spice. It's not as much as I thought there'd be. I think the first time I smelled this, I had a little more of the heat. Maybe I went too deep with the nose in the glass. This thing has some depth. I can get in there. Very nice, subtle flavors on the nose. That initial taste is spicy, a little bit of hotness from the alcohol volume. We're almost at 60% here. That's pretty high, but it's not overly intense. I would definitely say that this reminds me of a Highland Scotch, but there's sweetness there. There's a cherry note. It's like candied cherries or candied fruit. Kind of getting like a hot cross bun with the candied fruits in it. I never liked the hot cross buns with candied fruits. I wanted the ones that were just buns. Raisins. Raisins are good. I like raisins in hot cross buns. It's interesting how tasting whiskey and nosing whiskey remind you of memories or foods or times in your life. I can taste the butterscotch, caramel. There's a weight to this flavor. It's not light and passive. It's enjoyable to let the finish linger. There's a little bit of a sour note in there, and that's probably the wood, but it's not unpleasant at all. I think they found a nice balance with their choice of distillation, with their barley, with the way they treated the wood. Very impressive. Yeah, this is spicier. Let me grab some water. See if we can tone down some of this heat. See if that gives us a different flavor profile. The thing about adding water is it doesn't always do what a lower proof whiskey tastes like from the start. Because what we're basically doing here is we're diluting it. Where if you take the alcohol level down during the distillation process, it's more gentle, more subtle. This sometimes when you put water in, there are whiskeys that are very oily. And so you put water in, the first thing that hits you on the nose is all that spice. This isn't a very oily whiskey. This on the nose gets sweeter and more gentle. Yeah, there's no attack here, so it's not a very oily whiskey. Takes down some of the heat for sure. Gives me a minty flavor. I wasn't getting that pre-water. Yeah, I like it both ways. I would be interested to try their 46% ABV version, see how it fares against this. The problem is, this is a hard whiskey to get. They're a small distillery. Their reach is limited. And I think that's why a lot of the whiskeys that I find through craft are pretty cool. They kind of seek out these whiskeys that don't have the normal, or the distilleries that don't have the wide-reaching distribution that a bigger distillery will have. And it's nice to discover these little pockets of whiskeys. So I can't say you'll be able to get this, which I'm sorry, but do keep your eye out for it, because I think 10th Street has done an excellent job just in a very few years. I mean, if it's 2017, it's a really young distillery, which means the whiskeys are really young also. And I think that they can only get better. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do. And maybe after this pandemic is over and distilleries are open again for tours, I can take a jog down. Well, maybe not a jog. Maybe a vehicle. I'll go in a vehicle down the 40 miles to check out where their distillery is down there. Yeah, it's nicer. The longer it sits with the water, more of the caramel, more of the butterscotch, a little more sweetness. I really like it. I think I'm very impressed. And if you are enjoying this video, please do me a favor, give me a like, hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to grow a community here that enjoys whiskey, enjoys discussing whiskey. And in that vein, leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. If you've tried this whiskey, I'd love to hear about it. I'd like to know how many of us there are in the new 10th Street Distillery fan club. And if you haven't seen my behind the scenes video that I just shot earlier today, please look for it. I have a link down below in my description. I'll throw it in the comments too, just in case. And also you can check out the Old Elk video that I did a couple episodes back, which is also from Craft and has similar qualities of maybe a little hard to get, but really an excellent whiskey. So as always, take care of yourself, take care of those people around you, and until next video, cheers. Worthwhile keeping this one.